Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 9 of the URC Unloaded with myself, John Barclay, and the legendary Tom Shanklin. I'm also delighted to say that the head coach of the Ospreys, Toby, has joined us to chat a little bit about last weekend's game and, of course, his team. Toby, thanks for joining us.
Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Difficult game last weekend. We'll pick up off that against Glasgow. Obviously, disappointing second half performance in particular. What's your reaction after digesting the game over the last few days and doing the review?
I saw John smile as soon as you mentioned the result, obviously. No, it was, yeah, of course. I expect Shanks not to smile too much. No, it was obviously a disappointing second half, as you say. We stayed in the fight. When there's a lot of parity in the URC teams. If you don't do the basics well, especially away from home, we missed too many first-line tackles, got on the wrong side of the penalty count. A typical part of the game, really. So, I think we only had 3 entries into their opposition 22. We scored the points we did from that. And, it's a simple game. If you can't progress up the pitch and keep hold of the ball and stop them doing it, it's going to be a long afternoon, especially away.
Toby, 5 from 9 this year in the URC. How would you sum up your season so far?
Well, 2 games ago, it was going great. I would have taken that, from where you are, and but that's the nature of what we do. So, if you look at the detail in some of that, if you look at, beating Ulster, beating obviously Munster, everyone benchmarks themselves against the Irish provinces, right? So, to get some momentum in that was good. But we've got a pretty young group, new group. This is sort of halfway through my second season, and on the back of where we started this journey from, we've got some nice landmarks, if you like, to show that we're becoming more competitive. But you need to do it regularly, and that's the young players that we've set out to develop and get the next crop through are always going to be a little bit inconsistent at times, and that's why you need those leading players around them to help them flourish and see them through. So we've been probably a bit plagued with injury around those sort of key players that everyone knows about. So they're finding it rough, but they'll be better for the experience.
Yeah, you're easily the best performing Welsh region at the moment. And I suppose if you look at your wins and losses for the season, the 2 that stand out are Connacht and Glasgow. And they were quite heavy defeats. Can you put your finger on why? Is it just an away game? Is it COVID disruption? Is it? What? Because you look at the other results and they're fairly close. The games you lost.
Yeah, the blowouts. To be fair, last week beaten fair and square. Got no well, both games beaten fair and square. Got no qualms about it. I'd argue the fact that we had enough to beat the Scarlets, as you say, but the 2 losses you talk about. There's an art to playing Connacht, without doubt. As I said, and if you get the wrong conditions, I'll give you an example. It was like Hurricane Mitch. The ball kicks off, goes behind you. You've seen that, and it becomes a little bit of lottery. So you've got to be right up for it, bang up for it. And the fact that you're outside, the bench is uncovered, the amount of waterproof gear you've got, they tumble dry all their stuff at half time. There's an art to being, to playing well. And you've got to stay in the fight. So, as I said, you're always learning as you go. We played there this time last year on a Sunday, and it was bright sunshine and won easily. So, they're used to those conditions. So there's some learning in that. I think the Glasgow one was really basically on, poor fundamentals. I think ultimately in poor conditions, you've got to have a lot of collision, and you've got to make sure that you win collisions. And I think the common factor in both, and we lost too many collisions.
I think you should maybe borrow Reece Webb's hairdryers, something like that. He's got a load. I
was going to say, learning, bring a tumble dry for the next away trip to Connacht.
Yeah, he said that you don't need one, so he said he's okay.
Yeah. Toby, just from me, and obviously I never played in the Prem. You've coached in both. Whenever I played, I spoke to players who had played in both. They always said there was a big difference. And I don't know if you meant to mention it in one of your first answers. You said you're talking about coaching in the URC. Is there a big difference in approach that you find?
Yeah, I do. There is.
Yes.
I think that there is. I think there's. I absolutely love coaching in Wales. I think the boys are great. I think that they are. There are lots of hard grafters, and they want them. There's a lot of coachability in those. I think there's a lot of cultural differences around the players. A lot of English-based players want to know why quite a lot. So your coaching methods have to change. And I also think the nature of the competition is different. The breakdown is so vital in the URC, whereas in the Prem it can be a bit sterile. There's a lot of zero rucks and waiting for your opportunity. So I think there's a lot of structural things that happen in the Premiership, and there's a lot of situational things that happen in the URC. That would be the biggest difference for me, and the cultural difference, of course.
Yeah, I know. I definitely know what you mean about the cultural differences, having lived in Wales. And just the other thing I wanted to ask you about was just in terms of, and again, you kind of answered it already, I think. How much of your job with the Ospreys is, I guess, succession planning and planning for the future? Because, like you said, there's some guys injured. Adam and Jones can't play forever. The Tippricks of the world can't play forever. How much of that role is actually giving the chance, and how much of it is dedicated towards being competitive and having goals and targets to win silverware?
Yeah, I mean, you're so right in what you say. It's a balancing act, right? So if you're a head coach and you're brought in you want to develop players, you've got to win enough games to get through the other side. So you've got to win enough games to keep momentum and keep you employed to fulfill the prophecy, if you like. So look, I think that part of my undertaking, that's why I got a long-term contract at the Ospreys, was to bring through the next lot. And I've got a history of doing that at Bath and at London Irish and bits and pieces. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to champion young players and give them a chance rather than stockpile mediocrity in the squad. As you say, those international players, you've got to try and breed the next crop. And that takes time, and a little bit of inconsistency comes with that. But if you look at the young and Shanks, you'll know a lot of these boys from your time there. So people like Reece Webb, Dan Lydiard, Justin Tipprick, George North, Alan Wynne-Jones, those boys have a lot to offer in developing these young players too. And what is inconsistent allows Rhys Davis, Ruben Morgan-Williams, Kieran Williams, Dowie Lake, Jack Morgan opportunity, and ultimately then they grow into the middle and the next group come underneath, and hopefully then you don't get such a devoid squad in quality. I think one of the challenges for Welsh rugby in particular is getting the next crop through. You look at the international team. The international team's quite heavily loaded from around the sort of 28 plus range as well. So I think you've got to basically win enough to keep the momentum and keep the belief and get the youngsters through.
How good can Jack Morgan be?
Yeah, very good. I think. I mean, there's probably a bit, and my Premiership thing would tell me this, and we saw it when we played the South African teams and we played Sale recently. So there's a lot of physics involved. The game's increased collision-wise by nearly I think it's almost double the amount of collisions now, or 40% more collisions in the last 5 years. Balling plays up, so you need better athletes. A lot of people sold that by S&C, and certainly in the Premiership, a lot of S&C focus, less skill focus, and more, big is better. Whereas I think there's still a place for skill execution and, clever players and people. I think the days have gone of, a great little one will beat an average big one, because there's not too many average big ones, but people like that who are a little bit more diminutive can make good decisions, especially from the defensive side of the ball, are vital. Everyone wants the ball back quickly, right? You talked about the Glasgow game. I thought the hooker and the 7 were unbelievable last week about getting the ball back. And you need enough people that are going to get you the ball back in order for you to impose yourself on the game.
Toby, talking about people that are going to impose themselves on games and giving people opportunity, Gareth Anscombe hasn't had much opportunity and has, in some people's opinion, been struggling for form. But you've worked with him for quite some time and probably witnessed his struggles from day to day. But how is his fitness, and how much training is he actually getting through day to day?
Well, he's played something like 4.5 games in 2 years, so I think there's an expectation around it. And as you know, international players grab headlines. So, I don't think there was a choice around getting him back in the Welsh international fold. A game outside the window, which made, probably thrust him into the limelight a little bit earlier than we'd have liked. But he's getting better and better. The encouraging thing, he's always been a good goal kicker. He's always been, you've seen that in the games he's played. And he's got to get his basics. They're the things that you build any performance. And I'm sure you guys, when you were playing, you had things that you knew if you did those well, they were the things that allowed you to build your next bit and build your form and confidence from. So, look, I think he's getting better and better. The more he's out there, the better he'll get. You saw a line break in the Dragons game, another line break this week. He's challenging the line. We've got to get the people around him to help him, and the more confident he gets in his body, I think the better he'll get.
Toby, just one from me. Just a word on. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. Evan Phillips.
Yeah, Ethan.
I saw he was in the gym on Instagram doing some dips and stuff. How's he getting on?
Yeah, obviously, Evan is he's been, the last 6 weeks from Ospreys' point of view and then from the world really has been fairly chaotic, as you know, and that was sort of in the middle of it. And the boys were brilliant. They rallied round. You see true culture and a true team, in adversity. So, he responded unbelievably well. I'm sure he was going through the stage of, look, I'm just lucky to be alive at the moment. But seeing him doing some training and interacting with the boys will be good for his mental health. Nothing's going to be the same for him. And we've got to maintain that momentum in his positivity. And at times he's going to hit the wall. It's going to be very difficult for him, and we need to be there for him when that happens. We've obviously raised some money or helped him from the transition side of things, but he's putting a brave face on it, and he's a brave lad. And we're starting that journey with him, and he's probably a good advert of why rugby is such a great game, because people came out of the woodwork from everywhere, not just the Ospreys, from different countries, from wherever, to contribute and support him, and he'll need that support going forward.
Good stuff.
Toby, thanks very much. A lovely note to finish on. We really appreciate your time, your honesty, of course, as well. We look forward to catching up with you again in the near future. So thanks again.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Thanks, Toby.
Cheers.
Well, boys,
I saw that Instagram post in the gym. That's incredible, isn't it? Like how so soon after the accident, and he's back in the gym, and he's back being positive, and he's working hard. Like, it's he's lost his leg. It's like he's had an ankle operation, or he's had he's an ACL.
it just feels good though, Shanks, that Ospreys as a club are right behind him, and that's just brilliant to see. Like that. He's getting in, he's getting involved. As Toby Booth said, it's all about mental health and everything these days. So I'm sure we wish him all the very best moving forward, because it's going to be tough, eh?
Oh, mate, and Toby's right. There's going to be days where he's up, days when he's down, and I suppose that's where rugby is brilliant and unique, isn't it? Because you've got all the players around you, you've got the support network around you, and I suppose that's what's great about the sport, is that when you do have catastrophic injuries like this, you've just got such a huge network to rely on. So let's hope he goes well.
Yeah, Toby's now off the line, lads. What were your thoughts on the game at the weekend? Obviously, Ospreys going down heavily to Glasgow.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty honest about it. They just got out-muscled, and I don't know if that's just where they are with the squad they have, the guys they're missing. They're missing, on paper, the best players in the squad, and some of the bigger players in Anscombe, what you touched on, Stephen, probably not hitting the heights that they have done for a good reason because of injury. So, I actually thought he was really, I've never spoken to Booth before, and he wasn't what I expected to be. Just was really super honest up front. And I forget. What do you
think he was going to be?
I don't know. I used to have an idea. I thought he was just. I don't ever expect Toby
like Sean Edwards. You what? You what, mate?
Raj, mate. So no, I thought, and I kind of forgot the work he'd done with like London Irish, a lot of young guys coming through there. So a really good appointment actually.
I think the disappointing for him is that a lot of structure was there at the weekend for him. It was just missed tackles galore, like boys just falling off tackles. You know, Josh Mackay stepping inside two players, Tupelutu just
Anscombe fell
brushing through players.
In the Cardiff game, like the tackle completion and the physicality, it was similar in both games. To be fair, Ospreys stayed in the fight a little bit longer, but I didn't think, physically, if you look on paper, they're not that different in terms of their physical makeup to like a Glasgow, but Glasgow, for whatever reason, and Toby Booth spoke about it, George Turner and Rory Darge finding ways to get quick ball. I don't really see Ospreys creating a huge amount of quick ball.
No, they haven't. They've struggled in attack really all season. I think they're scoring like 1.6 tries a game in the URC. They're relying heavily on goal kicking. It's a stat for you that I worked out. They're scoring 20 points a game, but averaging and conceding 24 points a game. Yet they're still doing okay. You know, there's been a couple of poor results. You know, so that's telling you that there's the defeats they are getting, that they're scored heavily against. And like I said, the Connacht and the Glasgow game, like really well beaten from start to finish.
The other losses, I guess, against Scarlett's last play. Lose. So I think, like you said, they're kind of, I guess they're going to try and stay in the fight for the league, don't they? And they've got to blood young players. They've got to get enough wins to actually build confidence. That's a hard job to do that. And to keep,
I tell you though, mate, when Anscombe's fit, honestly, when Anscombe's fit, that's going to be the difference, because you'll have Rhys Webb, you'll have Gareth Anscombe. That's your 9 and 10. That's your backbone, really.
That's not where they're going to improve for me. Like, they're missing so many guys because of injuries. Like, the second row's an issue. Yeah, like Will Griff has been put into the second row. He's a back rower. Jack Regan, that just found out, who came from the Highlanders, he's now out injured for 3 or 4 months. He's wrecked himself. So I just think they're struggling for bodies. And as Toby Booth said, like, they're not winning collisions. And it doesn't matter if you're playing Glasgow, Connacht, Edinburgh. If you're not winning the gain line, you're always going to struggle.
How do you win collisions?
Even if
you win collisions by having a better attack, by creating better attack. You know,
or do you have a better attack because you win collisions?
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Exactly.
Well, somebody who was winning collisions was Rory Darge. What about his performance? I'm a huge fan. Been talking him up for all season, even when John and I were watching him play against Ulster in the first game. But geez, what a ball carrier he's turning into.
That was a seamless segue, Stevie, by you right there, from winning collisions to this. Yeah, he's do you know what's in, and I think, like, at the start of the year it's impressive. It's more impressive now, because I bet every team that Glasgow play against now are saying, you know, go low on Rory Darge. You've got to take his legs. He's deceptively strong. He bounces down, and he's still doing it. And it's not, and we spoke before we came on a little bit. It's not, 10 meter half. He's going 40 meters. He's doing it every game. I mean,
I still think he looks a lot like Hamish Watson. He might be a little bit more dynamic in terms of his,
I think he's got
pace and acceleration. Yeah, but you still see a lot of him. You still see a lot of Hamish Watson, the style that he plays, because he's not a massive bloke, is he? But he bounces people. He rides tackles really well. He uses his own weight. And then I always think they're the worst to tackle, aren't they? The players that sort of go and stop and bounce off you. Whilst if you've got a player that just runs straight, you can use their momentum, can't you, to tackle them? But I always find players like that. Not for me, but for other people.
Other people who struggle more. I don't think Gregor will pick him and Hamish in the same team.
No, they couldn't.
So, but hopefully he gets capped. I think he's playing one of the best players in the league, I think, at the moment, in my opinion.
Lads, moving on. Shanks, did you pick something up about somebody and their tracksuit bottoms, trying to get them off at the side of the pitch? Because I missed this, and I think a lot of other people missed it as well. And you've been telling everybody that you were in stitches in commentary. Is this right?
Yeah, I think you picked it up a bit too much there. It wasn't just me. Ben Velicott, who was amazing right at the weekend, really pacey, ran the game extremely well with Blair Kinghorn. He comes off on 72 minutes, and it must have been a real quick sort of substitution call by Mike Blair. and Charlie Shields, who's the sub scrum half, just can't get his tracksuit bottoms off in time. And we're hammering him because like after sort of 20 seconds, as Ben Velicot's at the side of the field waiting, Charlie Shields still doesn't have them off, does he? I don't know what is going on. And I've never seen anything like that. No, he didn't. He didn't get them off. It was like 2 or 3 minutes. Velicot was waiting on the side, and in the end, he went back on, didn't he? Because the game had started.
It was like it was like that Friends episode where Ross has got leather trousers on. He's covered in paint. Yeah. We're like, what? He didn't get on though.
It's like it's like he had skinny jeans on, and he was trying to get them off over his boots. But he would have got them off eventually, wouldn't he? And I think Mike Blair just said,
he dropped his tits.
Screw him. It was his own fault.
Well, Collie's been trying to find the footage of it, and we can't dig it out. Maybe we'll get it in the next couple of weeks, but we'll move swiftly on, lads. Munster versus Ulster at the weekend. It was a bit of a dire game, to be honest. I'm not sure if you've watched it every minute of it. I'm sure you haven't, actually, because you could easily just skip on through. Lots of kicking. But we have to address, I know there's different opinions on the Simon Zebo red card. JB, start off with you as a back rower who liked to run around making a few big hits.
I don't know about that. But no, I actually watched. I made a tackle sometimes.
People up, I meant to say.
Yeah.
A few passive tackles.
Oh yeah. So the soaker, that was me. The
soaker.
I actually watched it, and I don't know if we'll hear
the sponge.
I'm trying to the sponge. I don't know if we'll hear what Zebo says afterwards, because he actually says I didn't hit him, and I remember listening to the thing, and I think you did. But if you see the angle from behind, there's the next angle, it actually looks like he gets hit sideways by Crowley, and Zebo kind of just comes over the top. This is the best angle. I think he gets hit sideways, and Zebo doesn't actually look like he makes much of a collision. He's dislocated his
finger too, yeah.
In someone's shorts, but someone had to get sent off.
Yeah.
And this is what I don't understand, because there's been that statement today where they've overturned the red card, which on the balance of what we've seen, I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but someone needs to be red carded for that.
Yeah.
If it's not Zebo, it's Crowley, and I don't know what you guys think.
No, well, Crowley then. Crowley surely has to be given a red card, or some kind of disciplinary action has to be taken against him. Or is it just one of those ones where you go, oh, well, Simon received the red card, we'll just let Munster away with it? Like, it's minimal contact to the head. That's fair enough, but it's still contact to the head. When have the rules changed?
But that's speed as well.
There's no dip there, is there? You know, if you're going to make that's a perfect kick to make a massive tackle, but you've got to dip low, and you've got to be looking at waist height, and you've got to expect a player to dip when they catch the ball as well. So a bit lazy, really, I think, because it's quite easy to make an upright tackle like that. Tackling is always hard when you've got to go low, because you've got to be brave then, because you're exposing your body a lot more. When you're tackling upright like that, I always think it's a lot easier, unless you're an Islander. That's
easier to be a massive tackle, isn't it?
Yeah, that's their favourite tackle. But there was another red card as well. Not a red card. There was an instance where it could have been a red card on James Botham, and he's over the ball Jacqueline, and Dave Cherry comes in, and we missed it, didn't we, John, in comms, because it happened so quick, and because there was only one replay, we weren't even looking at it. It wasn't something overly obvious. But then I suppose when you slow it down,
But is this the problem, though, lads? Is this the problem about slowing things down and going through it in every fine detail to find a fault in it? But when you actually look at things in real time, you're probably, most of the red cards, you're going, that's a yellow, we'll move on.
But there was a massive hype, especially in Wales and online, about player welfare. You know, it was a definite red card. It was said on a programme in Wales that it was... it should be a red card, but there is contact around the head area. Dave Cherry gets as low as possible. He can't get any lower, but you still have to. And I texted a referee after just to see his opinion on it, because they often know more than us. And he replied straight away to say
Welsh?
He thinks it. I can't comment. I think he was a referee. It might not have been rugby. He thinks it was a red card. But yeah, I've not seen Dave Cherry being cited online yet, or whether they're looking at it. So, the TMO didn't see it, the ref didn't see it. TMO cleared the incident. So whether
it's bizarre because it was a 10-minute break. I'm not sure if it was it's one of those like Ferris saying that is it a rugby collision? Sorry, or that's not for us to decide. It's those kind of contacts can go either way actually. But there was a 10-minute break and it wasn't looked at.
Yeah.
So that I don't know, unless the TMO's in the bog or something. I don't know.
It seems to be every week. I know there was a few in the Gallagher Premiership as well this week, but it's not ideal. But Kendall and try, lads. At last, Munster played a little bit of rugby when they needed to. Towards the end of the game, threw the ball around lovely, made a couple of half line breaks, and a little bit of luck. Kendall got over, and this is the sort of build-up of it. Coombs, look at that for an offload out the back, and Dwayne Vermeulen, look at the colour of his shirt. He worked his absolute balls off during the game.
That's a great ball.
To lose. Yeah,
that's a great ball to Kendall.
That one there.
That. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Good offload.
Cat flap, mate.
Claiming an assist for that.
I actually thought it might have been a slight knock on, but they didn't have a camera angle from the other side. But I don't know about you lads, but Ulster were very disappointing. Down to 14 men. What was it? 14 minutes into the game, you'd expect them to close out the game, but Billy Burns was poor enough controlling the game. Another thing is Ulster's injuries all racking up. John Cooney out again. Looks like he's torn his calf. Ian Henderson, there was a statement released today on the injuries at Ulster. Obviously going to be a big game this weekend. Lots of injuries for Ulster. So not ideal, but Munster will be happy enough. Some of their players starting to play some good rugby, and one of those being Tag Byrne. What a man of the match performance by him.
And captain again, I don't know if he's captain this year, but just another string to the bow. But yeah, it's the most kind of Munster performance I've seen for a while. Backs against the wall, man, and they just played that, whatever you call it, that Munster brand of rugby, really physical, really direct, really ruthlessly efficient in and around the breakdown, winning penalties. But Ulster were terrible.
Oh yeah,
I think if you play 14 men for 70 minutes ish. I would argue if you're going to lose a winger, bizarrely in those conditions, it was going to be an attritional upfront game, and it wasn't going to get the ball to too much width. But that being said, and I kind of said it all year, Ulster's inability to generate any kind of overlap or continuity in attack is, in my opinion, is their biggest downfall at the moment. They're not creating anything, and they attack by numbers. They attack based on, I guess, what their shape is, but it doesn't. We never see them creating simple tries, it seems like, against top opposition, where they grind them down. Yeah. They really seem to be a bit clunky in attack. I don't think Billy Burns is helping that at the moment, but it's got to be more than one player, given the guys that are around him.
Yeah, definitely. It wasn't good. And I know there's been so much hype around Johan van Graan, the way Munster have been playing their game, their limited attack. Pointing the finger at everybody, and I'm not sure if you saw Johan van Graan's interview before the game. He was very sharp with his comments, and after the game he was just happy to get the win. But Ulster fans haven't really been shouting about the performance that they put in at the weekend. All season, got off to a brilliant start, 4 games on the bounce, and a really disappointing away loss to Connacht. Then they bounced back with the win against Leinster. Just so inconsistent, and that's going to catch you in the end up, especially when it gets to the latter stages of the URC. So Ulster definitely need to pull up their socks, lads. But moving on, Edinburgh, Cardiff, you boys were both there. Give us an insight into what it was like. There wasn't any fans there, lads, was there?
Just me and Shanks. We
Yeah,
were sat about 3 feet behind Dai Young, so that was a good spot for commentary.
How cold was it?
Didn't want to be anywhere else apart from right behind the Cardiff coaches. Well, it was fine when we arrived because the sun was out, but then just before kickoff, John and I had to quickly shoot to the toilets to put some thermals on. I had lycra thermals, obviously from my playing days. John had proper
cashmere.
Yeah,
of course he did.
Merino wool.
Yeah, Everest Sherpa thermals that he put on. I tell you what, I've never seen a man turn up to a game. Like I thought Sam Warburton was prepped for a game.
No.
Nothing is like John Barclay.
Listen, I've been at a game before.
Thermoflasks.
I've been in Belfast before, and I shot, and there's about 6 of us involved, and 3 bowls arrive for food. I'm like, well, 3 doesn't go into 6, so I show up. I arrive prepped.
What did you have? You had like a leek and bacon homemade soup.
I had a pea and bacon soup, and
didn't share it with anyone.
I had a bit of some mince, some chili.
Yeah, homemade Tupperware.
Chili, and then I had a thermos flask of tea to keep me warm.
No haggis, John. No haggis.
Shanks had Red Bull caffeine gum and some wine gum.
Some Haribo.
And a protein bar which didn't get eaten.
Half time, I couldn't stop shaking. Yeah, a protein bar just for show. So what I work out, all right? I need the protein. I need 30 grams of protein.
Shanks, have you put on a bit of timber, or have you lost a bit of timber through the lockdowns? I know you were on the text saying that you're going to have to start into this January diet that you're thinking of.
I start wearing slightly baggier clothes, mate, and slightly darker colours.
How many kgs?
Well, I weighed myself at my mum's recently, and I think her scales are wrong. It said 17 stone. There's no way I'm 17. So I think I'm all right. If I put weight on, it's good weight. All right, essential, especially through the winter. There's no point being ripped in January, mate. You want your beach body in July and August.
Well, there is if you're in Dubai. Big Jim Hamilton, of course, works for Premier Sports. He's sunning himself in sunny Dubai at the minute.
Tagging a hotel in, which makes me think.
Yeah, of course he is. Courtesy of JB as well. I think that introduction comment. There.
No comment.
But John, we'll just talk a bit more rugby here. One of the players that really stood out over the weekend, Magnus Bradbury, somebody who you know a lot better than I do. What about his performance at the weekend?
Called him Marvin, didn't I?
The clips, they tell their own story. He didn't score this try, so the only thing he did wrong in the game, but the ref gave it. So he was everywhere. Like the ref gave that, and then had to go back and check. But he carried the ball like a monster. Jared Evans got bumped a few, just like roadkill behind him. But he was superb. Like I think we spoke about it in comms. His development from a pretty straight up and down north south, very direct player to actually the way he runs with the ball. There's a bit more about his attack, his distribution, and his work over the ball as well. And he absolutely smoked Ray Lilo and someone else. He absolutely destroyed a couple of boys in defence. Yeah, he was unreal. Like genuinely one of the best performances I've seen from him. Period.
Do you know what was good for Edinburgh? They did their homework right. So they had Bradbury running at Reece Priestland and Jared Evans like 4 or 5 times, just isolating the number 10, who for Cardiff is the weaker tackler, and they just got so much gain line through him. It was really clever play from Edinburgh. Just you look at
the way Cardiff attacked. Sorry, yeah. and they ran down Magnus Bradbury's channel all day.
Yeah, they did. The start of the game. The start of the game, they went 15 phases. Left, right, middle, left, and didn't get anywhere whatsoever. They kept plugging away, and all of a sudden, if you're not going anywhere, you're going to get turned over because you're running into heavy traffic. They did that, and that's when Lang went through, I think, and fed Velicott, who threw a miss pass unknowingly, and I think Buffelli went in, didn't he, or Moyana? But that was just a story all the way, wasn't it, for Cardiff? Just overplaying. Weren't able to change the game up at all, weren't able to slow it down, weren't able to sort of go 3 or 4 phases and think, right, it's not on, we'll kick the challenge. They just kept plugging away, and Edinburgh were just organised defensively, really well organised, wouldn't throw many players into the ruck, were they? They're just spreading the line speed was good, and there was a couple of real standout performances as well. Mark Bennett looked class, really pacey, like seemed a lot quicker than I remember him being.
He's had 2 ACLs done as well.
Both wingers, Moyana and Buffelli, looked good, didn't they? Blair Kinghorn, I think, is just going further and further up in my estimations over 10. We knew he was a good player, versatile player, but all of a sudden now seems to be controlling the game pretty well in that position. But Bradbury, was by far a standout player.
What's your thoughts? Sorry, John, I was just going to ask you a quick question on the eligibility of Jack Dempsey. I know we watched him quite a bit at the start of the season, and yet another back rower. Like, how do you fit Darge, Watson, Bradbury, Dempsey if he's going to go that route? Like, there's only 3 spots in the back row, and all these guys are putting their hand up at the minute.
It's Muck Dempsey, just quickly.
Muck Dempsey, yeah. Well, that's maybe a discussion for another day. I'm not sure. Well, first of all, I think he's been Glasgow's best player this year. Along with Rory Darge.
Ahead of Darge?
I'd say alongside, consistently, two of the best players in the league each week in terms of their own individual performances. I just don't think, and this is not a personal thing, I just don't think that's what that rule's there for. That rule isn't there in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, that rule is there for tier 2 nations whose players have left to go overseas, and particularly from the South Sea Islands when they get picked up young, to then go back and contribute to Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, whatever it might be. So I don't know how well that will sit. That being said, I know if he plays and he plays like he does, everyone will love that. So, but I think there's enough young Scottish lads coming through, like you say, Magnus at the weekend, Rory Darge, Hamish Watson, Sam Skinner plays in the back row, Matt Fagerson. So there's a load of guys coming through, but I don't know. And just going back to Edinburgh on that, and Shanks touched on it a wee bit. That's the most organised I've seen them. Like, that was my criticism early in the year when they were tapping from everywhere and running everything. And actually, they had the game won at halftime. They scored a try just before halftime, which killed the game off. And they didn't come. They scored a couple of tries in the second half, and the weather was a bit crap. But they just put some balls on the ground. They exited well. They found structure from unstructured play. And that's clearly been their focus, is to actually find ways to find structure in amongst the chaos and the style they play. So, yeah, I was really impressed with them and Glasgow, how their ability to create quick ball over and over again. But something I was going to ask you boys, like the Welsh regions have struggled for a couple of years.
Yeah,
but the national team is still always successful.
Yeah, we'll still beat Scotland in the Six Nations.
You heard it here first.
Of course we will, mate.
Of course we will. It's arrogant.
Stupid question. Dry like Jim Hamilton was waiting for me because he said a couple of weeks ago, Scottish teams are in a phenomenal place, and I questioned phenomenal. And then
he dragged out from weeks before.
2 weeks he'd been waiting for that. I'd put like a gif of a sniper in the rain, just waiting. No, it's strange. Like, it's weird because I honestly think Wales will beat Scotland in the Six Nations, but I don't think a Welsh region. I don't think a Welsh region at the moment will beat Glasgow or Edinburgh because they seem to be flying pretty well. Yeah.
I'm going to say
Wales has just got this ability.
Wales are going to struggle this year. They played 6 of the 11 internationals last year against 14 men for more than 4
correct,
minutes.
John.
Boys, no one looks into that. Who won it?
Yeah,
you were the stat man.
It was a fluke.
You were bringing stats out on the show earlier.
No, what's the matter with it? Yeah,
thanks.
Yo.
Speaking of regions, give us a very quick insight on Liam Williams jumping ship from Scarlett to Cardiff. He's obviously was at Saracens, didn't work out. I know he had a bit of an injury there as well. Didn't play as much as I'm sure he would have wanted. But what's the feeling on the ground? Like, you're in the middle of it. Is it the right thing for him to do? Is it a personal thing? What's your thoughts?
I think it's a great signing for Cardiff.
Yeah,
I think it might be a personal thing. He lives in Cardiff. It's closer to training for him. It's closer to commute. I'm loving. He's got a bit of a Twitter battle going on against some guy called Salmi Dak. I think it is.
Absolute helmet.
He's getting hammered and saying like we shouldn't bother continue to play Liam Williams. He should leave right now. His heart's not in it. It's brilliant. He keeps fighting back. You just got to follow him to watch it. It's comedy value, but it's a great signing for Cardiff because they've signed Liam Williams. They've signed Toby Faletau. Two proper winners and two guys that will have great culture, and that should filter down and really good experience. That should filter down through the rest of the squad. They need us somehow. Thomas Young coming back. Well, not coming back. Well, he was a ball boy when I used to play. I used to teach him all these funny sign languages and say, "Go show your mum and dad that, mate. Go on." But it's positive news. It's positive news signing those three players for sure. And if they can stay fit, we'll get Liam Williams fit for a prolonged period, and Toby Faletau, that'd be great for the region. So at the moment, it's not looking great. It's quite negative after the Edinburgh game, but might have to be one of these. Forget about this season, lads. Next year, we're going to go and bloody win it.
That's tough in January.
I know.
Yeah,
big time.
Well, just give up, lads. Get some holidays booked.
You look at where they are.
They genuinely. I thought that. I'll say you're from Cardiff, but I thought they were dreadful the weekend.
It's the worst I've seen them. I think this year so far.
The manner of defensively just so, and I reckon they would have made plus 50 missed tackles in that game.
Yeah, and defense last year was their strength. They weren't really scoring enough tries, but they're making it really difficult for teams to score against. I feel bad now for writing them off, but you're sort of halfway through the season and they're nowhere near challenging. So it's. I hope moving forward now they start looking at the Theo Kabangos and the Winnets. A couple of the youngsters that featured in European games and actually produced the goods and performed pretty well. And start developing these players, and as I said, next year they're going to win it.
Well, they've also had their COVID struggles. Well, John Barclay said that Glasgow were going to win it after the first game. So, in fairness, they've got themselves back on track. But I completely agree with John. I thought Cardiff were really disappointing. We all know we can have off days. You don't pitch up to every game in good form, but no, they were very, very poor. Moving on.
Sorry, Steve. The only caveat I'd say on Edinburgh is the teams they've played are not kind of the top of the table teams yet. So they're sitting top of the log, but they haven't.
They're not the Irish teams, you mean, John? Come on.
Ulster crap. So that's a 5.
Feeder region. Ulster, the new feeder province.
Development team.
Munster last week, wasn't it?
Played Scarlets, Benetton Stormers, Bull, Zebra, Benetton, Cardiff Dragons. They've not picked up. Yeah. Not going to Leinster. Ultimately, is what I'm saying, and that's the kind of acid test. But yeah, full marks on the sort of scorecard for them at the moment on the report card.
That is the acid test, definitely. Leinster always tough team to beat. Rants of the week, lads. We're closing in or closing down on the show. Probably 5 or 6 minutes left. Any rants this week? Anybody annoy you?
Yeah, only John's mentioned it already, but whoever sets us up for commentary in an empty stadium, just please don't put us half a metre away from coaches who can hear absolutely everything that you're saying.
No crowd, yeah.
I think at one stage, Dai Young took out his earpiece and was like this. I'm just having to listen to us. And the cold. The cold can do one.
Blame the cold.
Wasn't it? It was so cold.
It was cold. Only rant from me is, when people take photos of you when you're not expecting it. That's all. Not very nice, Shanks. It caught me mid-flow.
Yes.
Wait till you come on tour with me, mate. I'll have hundreds of you asleep.
I went when we went to the box to get into our thermals. I actually tried to record you getting changed, but I couldn't get a good angle. And then I was convinced you were going to try and get me. This is the wild world of commentary.
Hey, isn't that the worst thing ever? Like when you're on a tour or you're in you're with your rugby club and you sat there in the toilet, and honestly, it used to kill me. I'd get so nervous because all I'd be doing is looking up, thinking I'm gonna see like a phone coming over the top, just videoing me.
The Welsh boys, the Welsh boys are the worst for that. And as you took the photo, I remember thinking before, I'll bet he's taking a photo, and then lo and behold,
as you had a mouthful, you turned to me. That was a brilliant one.
Lads, I'm glad you had such a good time. Like, I'm really devastated that I missed this game. It looks like it sounded like you guys had a ball.
We're called the Wolf Pack now.
Yeah, we had a right crack, didn't we?
Yeah.
Real good.
Well, I'm looking forward to
Who were you with, Stevie? Who were you?
I was in studio. It was awesome. Gav Muldoon managed to get us a little tie for some grub. Sat down, relaxed. Ian Keatley was guest in studio. Actually, a really nice fella, top lad. I wouldn't know him that well from the playing days. He's involved in the coaching down at Munster, so you can sort of tell that he didn't want to say anything too wrong to get himself into a little bit of trouble. But no, I thought he was very, very good. Nice fella. So
how was big Gav Muldoon? Because he's been in court recently, hasn't he? Is he okay? Is the charges dropped?
the charges? What would they be, Shanks?
I can't. No, I'm joking. He's fine. He's a good mate. Not one of mine, but to someone he is.
Well, I tell you what, he orders a good feed. He orders a good tie. Oh, there it is. There's the photo.
It's not close enough to see. Like, my tongue's out. It's like a cow. It's like a cow eating grass.
It's like. Is that how you drink red wine as well? Do you put your tongue out to stop your teeth getting?
It's rank. I don't even know what I'm doing. Just had that much food, didn't I? Had to get through it all.
Boys, presenter's choice. I think it's going to pop up on screen. We'll get a couple of stories from each of you. Player you most admire, celebrity crush. Oh, I'm not even going to go past. So, John Barclay, who is your celebrity crush?
It's more. You have to give
Alan Carr.
Alan Carr. So what's going on here? I don't know. You have to. Someone else can go first. Let me.
I'll come back to you, Shanks. You're bound to have somebody.
Someone weird. Yeah. Who's that lady in Misery?
Are we talking like guilty pleasure?
Who was that lady in the Goonies that chases him through? No.
Hey, you go.
I'll go.
Guilty one, surely.
Has anyone seen The White Lotus? It's a drama. It's brilliant. Alexandra Daddario. There we are.
All right.
It's a White Lotus. Watch it, boys. It's brilliant. It's like a dark comedy, a bit like me, but it's very clever. It's about a hotel.
I was going to go Anna de Armas. I don't know how you say her name. She's in Bond. I don't know. And
the latest Bond.
Yeah, I think so. She keeps popping up in my feed, so I don't know if I'm searching for her too many times. Very pleasing on the eye, though.
What did you say, Stevie?
Mine is you would know her. You would know her, Shanks.
Shirley Bassey.
You're very much into your. Well, JB, you probably know her as well, but Paige Spiranak. Have you come across Paige Spiranak?
No.
On Instagram?
No.
She's a
wrestler.
I think she's a semi-professional golfer.
I do know it is. Someone told me about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember her.
I was a bit too keen there. Yeah, I know her.
Yeah, well, yeah, good choice, Steve.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so no, she would be mine. Lads, we're at the end, but before we close off the show, a bit of breaking news. We haven't been on social media that much this evening, but Jared Paine is leaving Ulster as defence coach. and moving on to new pastures. So I'm just wondering where he's going to go. I'm hearing, well, I heard a couple of weeks ago that it might be Claremont because of his relationship with John O'Gibbs. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. What's your first take on that?
Snorkel on, mate. The ship's sinking. He's got the snorkel on overboard, mate.
Peely's gone.
Exactly.
Paine's gone.
No, I don't know. I've got no idea. I've got no idea what's going on.
Bit of a shock.
Yeah, big changes though. I suppose over Ulster over the last, like you say, with Peely going. Although Peely probably left because he wanted to be a head coach. Jared Paine leaving. Who's next?
Roddy Grant's still there. John
Peely didn't leave because he wanted to be a head coach. Because remember, he was going to Cardiff, and then he did a U-turn because the Scarlet's offered him head coach.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Didn't know that. Yeah. There we go.
Well, boys, we'll shut it off and enjoy the games get into Europe over the next couple of weeks. That's all we have time for on URC Unloaded. Don't forget you can catch every minute of every URC game live on Premier Sports. Head to premiersports.com for subscription details. Thanks everyone for watching. John and Shanks, I'll see you both soon. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
See you.